Hello everyone. The purpose of this tutorial video is to show you how to submit degree petitions now using the new eForm. You'll find the eForm where you find all of the other eForms over in eTrieve Central in the Forms folder. It's going to be called CO for Counseling Degree Petition. I want to point out that even though it's called a degree petition, you can use this if you're still needing to submit for any kind of a certificate of achievement or a skills certificate. You can do all of that through this one eForm petition. Once we go with this, we're no longer submitting any paper forms or documentation directly over to the evaluators. It's basically a combination of us submitting this eForm and us making sure that any needed documentation is over in the student's content folder in eTrieve. So when you submit this form, it gets routed directly to the evaluators. They then start their initial evaluation process. If they have any questions or issues or concerns about the petition, they have a means of referring it back to you with comments, and then you've got a way of approving it and sending it back to them with comments. And at the end of this tutorial, I'll show you what that ends up looking like. You'll see when we get further down into the form that you can submit for up to 5 different programs, 5 different degrees or certificates just using this one eForm. Obviously, if you're in a situation where you need to submit more than that, you could just go ahead and submit a second degree petition. So the responsibility is really on us that before we submit the form, we really need to make sure that the student is eligible to petition to graduate. Just basically with the same criteria that we would use now, that their in-progress courses are going to be finishing the requirements for whatever the degree is or the certificate. And just like we do right now, we can petition in the spring, pending any summer coursework that might be needed. You just need to make really clear in the petition what that summer coursework is going to be and how it's going to be applied. The other big part of this, since we're not sending any paperwork over to the evaluators, we need to be making sure that any needed documentation is going to be found over in eTrieve, that external transcripts are there, that AP scores are over there. If there's any departmental correspondence, you want to make it as clean as possible so that the evaluators are going to be able to go over and find what they need in eTrieve. So continuing on with the instructions, I'll show you how you can put in the student ID number and the term of completion. I'll show you the area where you can be adding up to 5 different programs that the student's graduating from. I want to point out that there is a notes section that pertains to each one of the specific programs that you might be petitioning for. There's also a general comment section at the end. These are both places where you can inform the evaluators about any kind of course substitutions or how you might be using external courses or AP tests that are going to be applying to different areas of the degree or certificate. We've worked out an arrangement with the evaluators that if you've got 1, 2, or up to 3 courses or AP tests that are being applied, that there's not really a need at that point to fill out a whole transcript evaluation report. You could simply indicate in the comment section or in the notes section of this petition how those external courses or tests are being applied. If, on the other hand, you've got 4 or more external courses or tests, that's when it would be good to fill out a full transcript evaluation report. Make sure that that report is over in eTrieve. You can then make reference to that report on this petition so that the evaluators then will know where to go to look for any of those kinds of substitutions. Okay, so let's just start off with a super simple Cabrillo-only units degree petition. You'd start off by putting in the student ID number, search for the student, the name pops up. Notice that an alert came up that there are already 2 active degree petitions found for the student. If you scroll down, there is a section called Students Active Degree Petitions. This is going to list out any degree petitions that have already been submitted for that student by any other counselor, you or any other counselor. By an active degree petition, we basically mean that a counselor has submitted it The evaluator is still doing their initial evaluation of it. Once the evaluator does their initial approval of the degree petition, that petition then goes over into the student's content folder in eTrieve. So you'll always be able to find a degree petition if the evaluator's already done their initial review of it. It'll be over in eTrieve. But if it's still in that time when the evaluator's doing their initial review of it, you would see it listed here under these active degree petitions. This basically means that the moment a counselor submits a degree petition, we're all going to be able to see it. It'll either be already reviewed by the evaluator over in eTrieve and content, or you're going to see it listed right here. So once we've determined that a student hasn't already petitioned for the degree that we're about to apply for, you can come and choose the subject or the department. That's going to present you with a pull-down list of every one of the degrees or certificates that are associated with that subject. I'm going to go ahead and graduate the student with an astronomy degree. I have to put in the catalog year that is being used. At that point, if that's the only thing I'm petitioning for, we come down to the fun section of this, the unit totals. You'll need to inform the evaluators whether or not these are degree applicable units, which of course would be for our non-transferable AA and AS degrees. We can also use the degree applicable totals for any certificates of achievement or skills certificates that you're petitioning for. You could also put CSU units or UC units, and you need to identify which type of units you're including here. You'll put in the number of units attempted, the number of units completed, and grade points. A couple of fun things happen. You'll notice that it automatically totals them to date. It automatically puts in the GPA. It gives you a space where you can put in any units in progress. And it then gives you a tentative unit total that would then be assuming completion of those in progress units. So if this was a real clean petition and it was all from Cabrillo and you've made sure that the student was qualified for the degree by looking at their unit totals on the transcript and by taking a look at the progress tab in student planning, at this point you could just go ahead and submit it and it would go to the evaluators for their initial review. If, on the other hand, you've got a couple of things that you're bringing in, let's say you're bringing in an AP test for English 1A and you're bringing in a course from another college, there's that notes section where you could tell the evaluators that for this particular program, this is how we're going to be using some of that external documentation, which of course you've made sure we've got the documentation for over in eTrieve. Then down in the unit totals, you could indicate that the student has completed the units from NPC. Once again, it automatically recalculates the totals, automatically recalculates the GPA. You could mention about the AP English test, put in the units for that. Notice that it's not even allowing you to put in units attempted or grade points for those AP tests because obviously those are not factored into the GPA. So that's how you could go about putting in, if it's just one or two or again up to 3 external courses. And if you have more than that and you want to be directing the evaluators to a full transcript evaluation report, you could add an additional comment down here. Just making sure that we're always directing the evaluators to whatever documentation they're going to be needing. These are open comments fields, so you can be filling them in with as much information as you think is going to be helpful for them. I had mentioned that you can do up to 5 different certificates or degrees on the same petition. I just want to point out that every time you put in a new program, it's going to add another blank field and it'll allow you to do up to 5 on this one petition. So at this point, it's ready to go and you can submit. This will send the form over to the evaluators. They will then start their initial evaluation. And I'd like to show you next how that back and forth between you and the evaluator could work. You'll get an email from the evaluator saying that they have referred it to you. It'll let you know which evaluator it is. you'll be able to click right in the body of that email, and it will then bring you to whatever the petition is that the evaluator had a question about. You'll notice there's a history tab with a little red dot indicating that there's a comment there. You'll be able to read whatever the comment or the question is. You'll be able to write a comment back to them, save it, and if it all looks good and you've addressed whatever their questions are or issues, you would then approve it, sending it directly back to the evaluator that had submitted it over to you for questions. You'll always be able to go to the Activity tab to see any petition that you've submitted. For all of us in counseling, this Activity tab builds up with lots and lots of repeat petitions. Every repeat petition that comes into counseling comes into our generalized inbox. But for your degree petitions, it's only going to list out any degree petitions that you have submitted or initiated. So there's a little search box up here, and you could look for the word degree, which will filter out all of those repeat petitions and then leave you with a list of every degree petition that you've ever submitted. Or if there's a particular student that you want to look for to see if you've submitted a petition for them, that will just bring it down to any degrees that you've submitted for that particular student. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of the new degree petitioning process using the Eform, and we can finally say goodbye to paper petitions. Thanks for watching.